younger days, I was always a fan of cartoons. I still watch them to an extent nowadays, I admit. My favorite genre was varied, but I always had a soft spot for the slapstick humor found in networks like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. One of the best shows I've seen and enjoyed was a little show by the name of Ed, and Eddy. I loved almost everything about it. The premise, the characters, both major and minor, the art style, and the humor of everyone being smacked around as if nothing happened at all. I don't think I've missed a single episode of it. When I was around 13 or 14, my younger brother and I have always watched the show every time it aired. After a while, we came up with an idea of recording some of the episodes on blank VHS tapes. Now, when we needed something to watch and when nothing was on, we put it in the tape and let the Eds entertain our short attention spans. We'd keep recording episodes for as long as the tape could hold, and you can bet that it's gotten its fair share of use by us. We even wrote, in crayon, the show's name and our names on the labels and back. Now, several years have flown over us, and we've grown a bit, and the tapes have been lost for Lord knows how long. We'd still catch an episode or two if we were bored or channel surfing. These days, I'm either doing something online or just playing games, minding my own at my house and my grandparents. It's an interesting life. One fateful day, I'd gone for a visit at my old family house to see my peanut gang. My brother and I were busy trying to kill each other in a video game, Scott Pilgrim, that we had taken a bathroom break. Bored half to death, I'd opted we wandered the house and looked through old cabinets and drawers. As luck would have it, after digging through old Pokemon and Power Ranger VHS tapes, there was our old makeshift Ed tapes. To say I was happy was an understatement. I had found something of my childhood that one could call our first project for stupidity. At the end of the day, I took it back home and set it aside. Unfortunately, we didn't have a VHS player with us at the time, since DVD and Blu-rays have abducted them all back to the big tape player in the sky. So instead, I had just left it alone in a dresser for another year. Sometime in the new year, I was setting boxes for my recent Christmas in the back room. I found a bundle of old technology just gathering dust. An old Nintendo, a CPU, which I sure was running below Windows 98, if such a thing existed, and lo and behold, an old VHS cassette player. Now right off the bat, I completely forgot about why I wanted this in the first place and left it alone. But after seeing the tape still dusting on my dresser, I dashed right back up to pick it up. So you can guess what happened next. Episode after episode, I smirked and watched the memories flood. The quality was a bit horrid, but I just ignored it. I was pretty normal as far as old recording VHS tapes could go, I guess. I just sat back and enjoyed the shows. I was really happy with myself. I could name each episode before the title card swung by. However, one episode started a bit differently, as the title card didn't play after the opening sequence. I just drove into the episode without a word, which from the start I could recognize as A Twist of Ed. The episode played as usual. Double D was in his normal happy, somewhat self as he cleaned the table and continued to name off things that he re-whatevered. Right after he finished, the screen flickered and the color was black and white for a second or two. It wasn't back to normal again soon, and Double D was running off to pick up the lipstick as the episode was meant to do. But he didn't. Instead, he ran over to it usually and picked it up nothing. The lipstick was gone. Double D's animation still played as if he was holding it, yet his dialogue conveniently omitted the words, "lipstick dispenser, in my backyard?" His animation clearly had been looking around nervously. At this point, I was waiting for the scene to play out. Marie Kanker was supposed to launch out and attack Double D, but instead the scene dimmed and returned back to black and white. Double D wasn't moving anymore, and instead was just frozen still. Not even the usual movements of the outline. The brightness was flickering, and the droning and crackling in the audio somehow got louder, and louder as it remained on Double D next to nearly broke my eardrums. "No, please, you wouldn't dare!" I tried to lower the volume with my remote, but it didn't operate at all, which, considering the remote was working just fine to turn it on and fast forward a little while ago, was more than unusual. I tried to fast forward to rewind and stop everything, but it had no effect on the remote. Finally, the scene began to play again. I saw lovable Ed overfilling a cereal box as it was meant to be. At this point, the remote seemed to be functioning again. I could change the volume as well as stop it if I wanted to. I let my heartbeat settle down as I hit play and let it continue on. The episode played without a hitch, and Double D was running to hide in the van in the junkyard with the other two. They exchanged their issues with Double D shouting at Eddie's stench. Oddly enough, although it was correctly used, Double D's dialogue always sounded off. It wasn't as loud nor as energetic as it should have sounded, and strangely enough, his colors were washing out and faded. Other than that, though, everything worked out well. The scene slowly stuttered and flickered again. However, as Ed got back into the van and lay in ponder, he was again motionless, and the scene seemed to dim as he folded his arms and lay still. Eddy and Ed were still going on the usual repeating chanting, "Think! Think! Think! Think!" The volume again peaked and cracked over the speakers as their chanting started to get really skewered. The sound was hard to describe, but at best it sounded like the words were being screamed by someone who was in severe pain. Double D himself was silent, only the low droning from before playing out as the scene had focused on him struggling to think. Ed slammed on the horn as the scene originally did, but the horn didn't sound at all. The only sound it gave out was a strange and sickening crunch. The incredible volume was unbearable now, and the remote was again rendered useless. I had enough and just stood to shut it off myself. However, before I could, the screen fell into a pitch black as yet another scream from Double D echoed out painfully loud. "Help me!" I stood frozen, my hand already extended to shut it off and everything. The episode continued on and seemed to skip ahead as now I was watching the cankers walk around a goofy smiling Ed. I just stayed up and watched as I was curious now, and it was obviously something was off. For one thing, it was strange how these errors were completely gone from the rest of the tape since the episodes prior to this one was completely clean. No bugs or volume changes, no different brightness problems, nothing at all. As the scene panned to focus on Double D and Eddy in a tree, concerned about Double D's plan to use reverse psychology, there was a serious issue, namely the lack of Double D. He wasn't in the shot at all. The spot where he was supposed to be was just a shade of purple, as with the rest of the tree. The rope that held him there was gone as well. Eddy was looking over and was talking as if he was still there, but no audio yet again. Now his dialogue was low and sounded like a low drone, save for one clear-as-day part in the word, "Ed's a goner." Now, the line was obviously used to reference Ed down below, but it was still pretty chilling to hear that since Ed and Ed don't really have any difference in pronunciation. The scene continued on, and Ed really giving the cankers a run for their money. Now the screen really fucked up. At this point where Double D was supposed to run with a gulp of "We're not done yet, Eddy," the scene went black and white yet again with an even louder static explosion. I could hear myself as I now was cursing up a storm. I went to reach again for the power on the TV, but again was cut off by something else. The scene was still in fuck-up mode, with a static breaking my ears and the brightness dimmed to I can't see shit kind of thing. However, it brightened a bit and showed the scene was different. I was looking at what appeared to be a wooden plank wall that the Eds usually either break into or sit on. In very drippy black paint, the words, "You forgot" were slapped on. The scene again froze here as I could hear something else coming throughout the speaker. It was Double D again. He was repeating a line from what I thought was a different episode, and he was droning it in and extending it in somewhat of a deathly moaned out. The static took a stop and was instantly silent as the line was finished. "Remember." The scene then slowly brightened. What was there was disturbing, as now we were obviously at the scene where Double D was calling the cankers dainty do-something darlings and welcoming them home, as was supposed to be. But he wasn't speaking. He was frozen in this position as his mouth was wide open in his goofy smile. The black and white coloring was still in full force, and white looking clear through the static, and the black as dark it could be. And Double D's voice began repeating the same words. "Remember, remember, remember." It continued on. Double D's animation still frozen, and his eyes slowly sank into a dark, black nothing in sight as he had lost them. His teeth and tongue were also drawn in black, and the burn marks started to appear on the screen. "Remember! Remember!" I had to hold my ears. I didn't understand what was going on, and the volume was still fucking killing me. He was screaming it now. I swear his voice was fucking screaming right from me at the TV, and the quality was way too good for a VHS at this point. He was pissed off. He was yelling at me to remember. I finally gave up and dove in for the power button, shutting off the TV with a sweet silence following. I hit eject and took the tape out. I thought carefully as the words repeated again and again in my head. Now, as I held the tape in my hand, taking a seat off the couch, I really gave it some thought. I know it's just a tape and I know it wasn't real. I was probably having one hell of a daydream. But that haunting image of his face, and that screaming, just the tone of voice in which he was screaming. Was he angry? Was he mad? I mean, the only conclusion I had at the moment was that he was angry I forgot about me forgetting him and the tape. I forgot him, and I left him alone. I tossed the tape back inside the VCR and reassured where I left it. The episode played out perfectly with the usual subpar quality of the VHS tape. Ed and Double D were still chasing the cankers and Eddie was still a pussy. I rewound the tape and played it again. The screen was okay, and the sound stayed the same. Double D was normally speaking, and it was a scene where he was supposed to be. As I opted to stay and watch the rest of the tape again and again, the scene with Double D saying, love knows no bounds to her turtle doves or something like that, his eyes and mouth are always black. Only here it happened. He won't forgive me. And that, my little shadows, was You Forgot, an Ed, and Eddy Lost Episode Creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? Not a bad creepypasta, to be honest. I mean, I get it that some parts of it are cliche, but for me personally, I thought that the cliches themselves worked very well with the story itself. I mean, it started off relatively simple enough. I mean, with, the what the heck am I thinking right now? With the Kanker sisters, Double D and everything, and the whole tapes, I mean, it all played out quite well. Now, as for the whole thing in regards to what happened with the tape and, the whole episode itself being as screwed up as it did, it really makes you think a little bit, too. Because, I mean, what the heck actually happened? Now, with that being said, there was another thing with the story that I actually found interesting. I like the grammar, I like the sentence structuring and everything. It all played out quite well. Now, despite all of that, though, I still found the story itself to be very well made. And like I said, even with the cliches, it worked out quite well. Now, the whole aspect of, You Forgot and things like that, I mean, I can kind of see what's going on here with this episode. I mean, for one, it was basically an episode where, the Eds, everything's extremely different, but then again, though, I kind of wish that there was a little bit more of a backstory. Well, actually, there was a backstory. I mean, maybe not for the actual episode itself, but how the episode managed to come by, on the tape and things like that. Man, this review is not making any remote kind of sense. I apologize for that, everybody. It's just kind of hard to really make a good review for this, because, I mean, the whole story is really damn good. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, especially with this being a really old creepypasta. But you know what? With all due sincerity, I can't think of anything to really review, because my brain is practically mush, so I'm just going to move on to saying that this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with it, that's fine too. Although there's probably not much of an opinion to really give, to be honest, because I didn't really say too much. I mean, I gave a little bit, but still. My final rating of the story, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Really good story, really good concept. However, though there were some cliches in it that kind of was... I mean, they worked well, but they were still there. But yeah, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys, like it? Better yet, give me your review, because obviously my review sucks like crazy. But yeah, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys not? Also, what would you have done to help make the story a lot better? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm the Shadow Reader. My brain's not working anymore today for some odd reason. And like always, roll the outro, because I'm out and I need to go and get some brain medication.
In fear and surprise, as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave, glued to your computer screen. The killers, they slash the the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horror-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.